Here is a recent Facebook post that explained the second email from the Lubbock Avalanche Journal reporter to me, and then replied back with a fact-filled mail concerning the secret police, DEA, and police corruption. I already showed you what she wrote, posted online it had incorrect information in it. Anyways, here Lubbock Avalanche Journal report contacts me, and as Brandy Addison, she's a reporter, and she copied somebody named Adam on it. She says, I have no doubt that there are tunnels in Midland as they're documented all over our region, and it makes sense since West Texas is such a heavy drinking community with the Prohibition era, which was in the 30s, if you remember. Never did I state, or even the 20s, never did I state that I doubted that in my story. I even quoted the video stating there was no doubt that smuggling and drug trafficking happens in tunnels in Midland. I just said we can't substantiate claims that Midland has a secret police force or that DEA law officials are committing these crimes, and it would be completely amiss to present that as fact based on speculation. Please let me know if you have further concerns, Brandy. And I wrote her back on April 5th here, and I said, Brandy, thank you for contacting me. I was sincerely surprised. It's the first contact I've ever had from a reporter that posted a story about this going on in Midland. Even though I consider this to be the biggest untold story in America, there has been no news stories or arrests. And I understand that it would be hard to substantiate claims made about the secret police, DEA, and police corruption without the facts and evidence which you didn't have when you wrote this. That is one reason I contacted you. I wasn't trying to be critical. I was providing you the evidence that you didn't have. First of all, let me explain who the secret police are. On January 28, 2012, I was ambushed and shot by somebody under my home with my phone lines cut and burglar alarms going off in my attic. Proof has now been found showing that I wasn't shot with my gun, which means that somebody shot me. Multiple people are now documented as saying that tunnels and underground homes are here, which includes many details. One of those people was Joe Lozano, who was secretly recorded when he was running for Midland sheriff. He confirmed that the underground homes are here and even said our last sheriff used to hide out in them. Supporting evidence was found on old Google Maps showing that one of the 4 3-bedroom underground homes is located in my backyard. And lastly, there are now over 50 other homeowners documented reporting people in the attic, with more than a dozen in Midland, Texas. This evidence proves that somebody under my home shot me. Can we agree to that? When I returned from the hospital 10 days after being shot and then crippled for life, I found pictures on my security cameras of 11 police at my home. I ordered the police reports and noticed that I was not given one that showed police at my home when the security camera pictures and videos were taken. This meant that I had pictures of police but no names. The question was asked if they were real police or criminals dressed like police. Remember, this was a premeditated capital attempted murder, proven. I nicknamed them the Secret Police, and I offered a $2,000 reward to anybody that could identify them. This is how the Secret Police came about, but they're not secret anymore. I'm not sure that you knew that. Keep in mind, this was the first time in the history of America that a crime victim had offered a reward to identify police, yet I couldn't get a news story in the nation. That is the level of corruption that I've been dealing with. It's been like Nazi Germany, and no amount of proof or evidence seems to mean anything. During the 6 years they were secret, I created a petition on change.org, as you found out. I also created many Facebook posts and videos about them. One video had over 26,000 views called The Secret Police. On January 4, 2016, I sent an email titled $2,000 Reward for Information Corrupt Police to Chief of Police Price Robinson, Sheriff Gary Painter, former Mayor Jerry Morales, all of the former city council members at the time, the Texas Rangers, the District Attorney Laura Nodoff, who's still District Attorney, Texas Attorney General Greg Paxton, he's still the Texas Attorney General, the New York Times, an associate press reporter, AP reporter, and now AP has me blocked on Twitter, and others, but I didn't get a single reply. Attached, you'll find a copy of this email for proof. It was 2 more years before they were finally identified. I mean, that's amazing, right? During this time, there were repeated break-ins to my home, which have been allowed by the police, death threats, and many people asking to order me to sell my home and move. They've been trying to terrorize me into selling my property while under the threat of death, and the reason is easy to see. There's a secret $1 million underground home in the backyard that was put in for the Bushes and completed in 1987. This wasn't Prohibition era, by the way, because a lot of difference between the 20s and 30s and the 80s and 90s. Conspiring to terrorize a person into selling their property while under threat is a violation of the Hobbs Act and carries 20 years in prison. It's happened more times than I can count. Okay, and I separated this in two parts because a limit on number of characters. Part 2. In 2018, Empire Private Investigations collected the $2,000 reward and identified all 11 of the secret police. And it was incredible to find out who they were. Keep in mind, that was 6 years after the murder attempt. The first law enforcement officer seen at my home on video was former Martin County Sheriff John Woodward, and this is Midland County. He was not dispatched by Midland or Martin County. I checked. In addition, his name had been illegally omitted from the police report, which is another felony. We know it was an accident because there were 6 police that were omitted from the police report. That's not an accident. That's a felony. 6 of them, actually. Seen following Woodward was the late sheriff deputy Mike Naylor. I found out Naylor was also not dispatched to my home, and his name was also missing from the police report. Mike Naylor died in the line of duty in October 2014. At the time of his death, I had a reward offered for his identity. Another important fact that was hidden from the public by the police and press. I suspect that Woodward and Naylor were in the underground home when I was shot, as that explains how they knew to come to my home minutes after a murder attempt. Some people have wondered if Naylor was going to snitch about the secret underground homes, and he was silenced. I think that's a fair question. Seen on camera inside my home was the late Midland K-9 officer Chad Simpson. Just like Woodward and Naylor, Simpson hadn't been dispatched to my home, and his name was also illegally omitted from the police report. 2 months after Naylor died, Chad Simpson was alleged to have murdered his wife, Sandra Simpson, and then killed himself. At the time of this alleged murder-suicide, I had a reward offered for his identity, but that fact was hidden from the public by the police and press. Once again, the question was asked if Chad was going to snitch on the other secret police, and he was silenced. The other secret police were not identified for another 4 years. Now we have 2 secret police and the policeman's wife dead, all connected back to the murder attempt on my life, which is connected to the 4 murder deaths that Aaron Packerhofer told me happened at my home. I already sent you proof of that. Can you see how big of a news story this would be? This is going to a Lubbock Avalanche Journal reporter. The next year, in 2019, I noticed a report number that I didn't have, so I sent an online information request, and to my great surprise, I got the police report for the night of the murder attempt. All police records had been subpoenaed in December 2013 due to a hearing, but the police had illegally withheld it from me. Are y'all seeing a pattern here? For this reason, I didn't know that one existed. It took me 7 years to get the police report, and the reason they withheld it was because it incriminated police. This report timestamped 5 MPD officers, Davis, Dickey, Chadwell, Angel, and Hale, at or inside my home when they were not seen arriving on the security cameras that saw Woodward and Naylor minutes earlier. All of my other doors were secured with extra locks, and this was also noted on the police reports. So the question was, how did they get into my home without being seen? The answer is that police were under my home and came in from the trap door the ex-wife had already told me about. This proved that police were under my home, and it was somebody under my home that had shot me. It's still unknown who the shooter was, but it seems clear that those 5 police officers know. As I've already told you, they tampered with the evidence, lied on police reports, and then destroyed my life with lies to cover up this failed murder. And I'm an innocent and crippled crime victim. Actually, I've suspected it wasn't the police that tried to murder me, and they've been covering up for whoever did. Heather O'Donnell, a lady from my hometown of Hobbs, New Mexico, who also told me that people were in her attic, told me that her former boyfriend, Donnie Cobb, told her that him and his friend shot somebody in Midland. I wondered if this was who had shot me. I provided this to law enforcement, but it was ignored like all the other facts and evidence. I attached proof of this, too. Okay, now let's talk about the DEA. In January 2012, I contacted the El Paso DEA and then the Midland DEA, and I told them about the suspected tunnel going from the Home Depot store to my home. I already sent you a picture of that from historical Google Earth maps. We know right where it's at. Remember, they poured concrete. The DA never contacted me or investigated this, and 2 weeks later, I was ambushed and shot by somebody under my home with my phone lines cut. The question has been asked if somebody at the DEA set me up to be murdered after I reported this to them, and or how many citizens had done the same thing and now they're dead. The DEA should have records of me calling them, and I encourage you to check. Let me ask you some questions. Don't you think that multiple people saying that underground homes are here is a big news story? How about 50 homeowners documented reporting people in the attic after I was shot, claiming that burglar alarms were going off my attic? Or how about the story of Sheriff candidate Joe Lozano being recorded as saying that the underground homes were the hideout of the late Sheriff Gary Painter? And then there's the proof that somebody under my home shot me, and now there's proof that police were under my home. I would think that would be a huge news story. What about 2 law enforcement officers dying while a citizen had a reward for them as secret police? I think the citizens of Texas might want to know that the Midland chief, the sheriff, the mayor, the DA, and the AG all knew that I had a reward offered for the secret police 2 years before they were identified by a private investigator. There are many more stories here that can be substantiated, which I believe are headline news stories. The reporter that breaks this story will become famous and possibly win a Pulitzer. I have the facts and evidence, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have. Is there any evidence that you'd like to see, Buddy Webb? And I sent her, here, I just posted. This was the email that got sent to the DA, the sheriff, the chief police right there. $2,000 reward for information, corrupt police. And here I told the story, and here's the people I sent it to with their email addresses. Lard Nodoff, that's the district attorney in Midland right here. You know, here, Lacey, Sparks, Morales, Love, that was all set. Dufford, Hotchkiss, Robnett, they were all city council members. Price Robinson, chief of police. Gary Painter, the late sheriff. And Robinson's a former chief of police, okay? The New York Times, Ken Paxton, our Attorney General of Texas, Inspector General Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General Hotline, the Texas Rangers, and the Texas Medical Board because of the medical crimes. Anyways, I thought you'd find that interesting.